Hey guys, we need your help. We've noticed not all of you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, so subscribe today.
Subscribe, hit that button.
Let's move on to the NFC. I think we kind of have some consensus there. We kind of know who's out. I think there's, maybe right now the NFC, this is what I noticed that was completely different from the AFC and the NFC. In the AFC, there's really, let's call it 10, maybe even like 11 teams that you could potentially talk about as making the playoffs. In the NFC, 7, which we're gonna have to have, and then there's this massive drop off. Then there's, like, 2. So, to me, the NFC is such an interesting it's easier to get in maybe, and easier, so fewer good teams. However, in this one-game sample size between these top teams, it could be harder to make the Super Bowl. So, easier to make it to the postseason potentially, but harder to kinda make it to the big game. But is there one team that we think consensus for sure is going? There's a team, it's in the NFC South, and, one of us might have played for it. Do you think
Yeah,
that one's
Tampa's definitely going to the playoffs. They're winning that
Yeah.
division, and look, they gotta these injuries, though. These injuries are piling up, and Baker just can't keep playing every game, losing 2 different receivers
Yeah.
every game. So, obviously, Tampa needs to stay healthy, and defensively, they gotta play consistent, but they're definitely winning the NFC South. I think they know that. They've been sweeping that since I was there. That's not gonna change.
I agree. I have Tampa kind of running away with it. I thought Atlanta early in the year could kind of make some noise, but they're a weird team to me. Can't figure them out. And New
I
Orleans,
don't think they
Carolina,
can figure
I don't.
themselves out.
Yeah, I don't see them competing with Tampa, so I think they run away with this division.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else from the South makes it. I thought Atlanta had a chance with how well their defense was playing, at least in spots, but, that weird loss to the Panthers where they didn't score a single point, and then this week against the Dolphins, like, John Robinson was really shut
Yeah,
down. Like, they really didn't get anything going through hi I understand Kirk Cousins was playing, but should it make that big of a difference for Robinson if Kirk Cousins is under center versus Michael Penix Jr.? I'm not sure, but that the team is like Jekyll and Hyde. And by the way, without Divine Diablo, they just were like, "Where is AJ Terrell? Okay, we're gonna go exactly to the other side and just dice you up with Jalen Waddle and Yak." I mean, I think Tua's air yards were like 3.9 on average, like something crazy, and they're just like, "Jalen, outrun everyone. Got it?"
Eh, they should do that every week. I don't understand why the Dolphins couldn't
I
score
don't. Yeah,
points forever. When you had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it was stressful to defend as a defender, and I didn't understand why they're not a team that averages 27, 30 points a game. They just lose 40 to 30. I get that, but they weren't scoring any points. It made no sense.
I think the next sort of, I wanna say, easiest division or least tricky division to figure out for me is probably the East. So, I have the Eagles. Eh, feels like next. Like I don't think, especially now without Cam Scatterboo and whatever's going on with the Giants, that they could get feisty enough to play spoiler in some way to someone. I love the offense for the Cowboys, but unless they do some drastic things on defense to change, like they're probably team 10 on my list. Like, and that's because Dak's, like, just single-manned willing them to do everything, but the way that Denver kind of exposed some flaws in, like, their logic tree this past week, I don't know if they can sustain enough on offense to make up for the defense. So, we all think just Eagles. Washington looks weird too and injured.
Philly winning the division, obviously. Dallas, like, it kills me to say, but I that can kind of compare him to Buffalo, right? And there's just a lot of Dak's got to be the margin of error is so small with the defense, and really, it's the schedule for me for Dallas. I mean, they've got an absolute gauntlet coming up here. It's
Horrible.
crazy. I mean, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota. Um, there's another one in there, a playoff team, but they just have a gauntlet of a schedule coming through, and I don't know if there's going to be enough games to get there this year.
I just wanted Zach to say it. That's all. Yeah, I got Philly. I got
I
Philly.
was circling all my teams, doing the 7, and I'm like, "Oh god, I am kinda 8, 7, 8," but it's, I think just for the scheduling alone, when you look at the schedule, it's hard to, it's hard to find 10 wins when you look at the remaining schedule.
Do we have any thoughts on Washington? I mean,
It's so hard when you catch lightning in a bottle like that in a year with a rookie quarterback and you have a lot of guys that um, are getting a little bit older, but guys know around the league, right? Like it almost seems too perfect on paper, and it's just hard to replicate that magic you had in that year from year to year. So I'm not overly surprised that they're um, not as good this year, I guess I'll say.
I mean, you're talking about Jaden Daniels, right? Like the magic in the bottle, Jaden
Yeah.
Daniels. But the
Yeah.
weird part for me is the rest of their team is made on a bunch of not young free agents, right? They're the oldest team in the league. They keep
Right.
having these injuries. Maybe these things aren't. And I don't even know who's playing week to week. I mean, we didn't like they changed their mind, kind of like, is Debo playing? I don't know. Is Terry McLaurin? I'm not even sure who the team is. It's very hard to have consistency there. Logan, do you
Yeah.
see any path for the Commanders?
I don't. I mean, look, they have really good players. It's just like Zach talked about lightning in a bottle, but it's when you have a really good year with a really young quarterback, you're gonna have the oldest. You're gonna load up. We're gonna get every vet that can play, and we're not gonna really worry about the young guys. We're gonna try to maximize this Jaden Daniels window while he's still relatively cheap or affordable. So you bring everyone in, and then the guys don't stay healthy, and then stuff happens, and it just doesn't bounce your way. Last year, I felt like a lot of things bounced their way, and he was so good right away. And then I always say there's a year of film on you. And it's really hard your second, third year. It's really hard after your first Pro Bowl. It's really hard after your first breakout year because now you become a go-to guy that people now have a game plan for your weaknesses. Oh, he doesn't do this well. Oh, this guy got the best of him. Let's attack him like this. Let's not throw at him. Let's not run at him. Right. And now you have to deal with let's make Jaden Daniels, let's hit him. Let's do so I feel like it's much harder in the NFL to sustain success because of the physicality of the game and the game plan of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I also think the fact that the North has at least 2 teams that could contribute, and the West, there are 3 teams with 5 wins already, makes it harder for 2 teams to come out of any other division. So let's go to the North first because I think the West is the most interesting one of all with, like I said, 3 teams with 5 wins already. So for me, I am not being biased right now. I am being
Oh.
mathist, and have Detroit narrowly edging out the Packers to win the division. That could be flip-flopped quite easily. I'm not pretending it's a slam dunk, but in part because they play at home on Thanksgiving against each other, and that tiny little edge of difference does end up mattering. So, and theoretically, the Lions secondary would be healthier at that point. So that's what drives that. But it's very strong for me. If there's something I feel very confident about, it's that both the Lions and Packers will be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm right with that. Honestly, I have the Lions winning it because although I feel like the Packers are more balanced, like their offense is good and their defense is kind of scary good when they're good. I feel like when the Lions offense is going, it's like the most powerful thing. I know Dallas, but I mean the running game, Jahmyr Gibbs, that weapon, a slot receiver, a good tight end. I mean, I think I'm talking about the New England Patriots here. Like, there's a formula to being, or the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like, it's not all about the great X receivers and the Z receivers, and this guy's so great on the perimeter. It's what you do on the inside of the football field. And the Lions have all that. When they're clicking, they're clicking. Now, I know defense, every year they're decimated with injuries and everyone's hurt all the time, and who knows? But when they are rolling, they are trampling people. So I think they know how to do it. They've been through it. They obviously have a great head coach that's been through this as well. So I got the Lions edging it, but Green Bay, like I said, might be more balanced in terms of consistent offense, consistent defense, what they can do, close games on defense. So I got them neck and neck, but I do have the Lions winning the division.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of a coin flip, these 2 teams. I think I'm gonna give Green Bay just the edge because they got that week 1 win, against them. So they have that. I guess they play on Thanksgiving, but I like Green Bay. Detroit's gonna be right there. I think the big thing is with these 2 teams, they're gonna be fighting for, the home field, right, in the playoffs. That 1 seed or that 2 seed to try to get a home field. I know Green Bay wants to get the teams outside when they come to visit, and but I have Green Bay just edging them out slightly.
I just had visions of Tom Coughlin's face freezing off in that one Giants and Packers game from like 20
Yeah.
whatever, the last time the Giants won the Super Bowl. Oh, that was crazy. Anyway, so now the West, which to me is the most interesting of maybe all of the divisions league wide, maybe both Wests actually, if you think about it. I think I might vary from you guys, but I have three teams making it. I think we all can at least agree that they're good. Seattle, the Rams, and San Francisco all make it in my model. The order is what I find very interesting. I had the Seattle Seahawks winning. I
Mm.
I was surprised. I was surprised.
Get out your
In
model.
Wha eh, here's the reason that number 1, they're able to get a ton of pressure rushing just 4, which helps them exact their will on teams until their corners get healthier. Helps them drop guys back in coverage and be able to kind of withstand having some injuries to their secondary. And number 2, Sam Darnold. It does what? Sam Darnold right now, he's crushing it on downfield throws. Anything that's over 10 air yards. Jackson Smith and Jig was like, "Come on, I'm gonna catch this one. Come on, I'm gonna catch that one." And he's got the highest passer rating. He's got, oh, I don't know, the highest yard per attempt average. It's almost 16. If those numbers held through the rest of the season, they would be like historic types of situations. So I'm not suggesting that Sam Darnold is the cure-all or the best quarterback in this division. What I'm saying is that the way that those two things are working together and the fact that they get to play the third place schedule, which is part of why I had San Francisco winning the division in the first place with the fourth place schedule. But their injuries make them a bit of too much of a question mark for me now, especially now Bryce Huff being, et cetera. But ultimately, how? Am I crazy?
We're gonna have our first bet on this show. Me and you're gonna have to put some, I don't know, adopt a dog. I don't know, winner or loser adopts a dog or I don't know if you bet
Great.
money. I
My
don't
husband
actually
will
don't
be
bet
all
money. I
into
don't
that.
bet
He loves
money.
it when I
Nope.
bring
I
home
don't bet
adopted
no money.
dogs.
I don't do none of that. Not me. Not catching me. But I will say, I will say, there's no way Seattle wins the division. It's just not happening because your model doesn't realize, and Zach's shaking his head too, that football is not 11 on 11. It is 12 on 12, and your coach matters. So who's their play caller? Who's Seattle's play caller?
Well, you've got Kubiak. Sorry, I
Okay,
could not think of
Kubiak.
that
He's
word.
not sorry, but he's not Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan. It's just not happening. And to me, I have all three teams making it as well. I have the Rams winning the division. I would have went with San Fran. They won head to head, but the Fred Warner injury is just too much. Warner and
Fred.
both are
Now Bryce. Nick, that is an insane amount of injuries.
right. It's just too much. And then I have Seattle making it as well. But the Rams are going to NFC Championship. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to play them. And it's because of the coaching. Truly, it makes all the difference in the world. Zach knows when you have a confident play caller, you got to go pull out some games. The analytics doesn't matter. You got to pull out who can make the right call at the right time. And McVay's an advantage. Kyle Shanahan is an advantage. I'm dead serious about that. And it's why these same teams make it the same runs because of the coaching. Andy Reid, Bill Belichick. It's no fluke. It's the coaching of the plays they're putting their players in to look good. We're not allowed to go out there and freestyle. We got to run the play. So I'm not betting against Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan. I have the Rams win that division. San Fran making the playoffs while they're banged up. And then I got Seattle kind of being my last seed there because they are a good team. But they can't mess with the coaching that those guys can do in that division.
I agree. I have 3 from the NFC West. I'll have San Fran. They were my team that I was kind of going back and forth with just because the injuries, right? They're so beat up, but I do have them. They have kind of a favorable schedule here. They Giants, Cardinals, and they play Titans and Browns down the stretch. So I see them getting enough wins to get in there. Seattle would be number 2 in that point. I still think I like Sam Darnold. I love what he's done the last couple of years, but I think down the stretch, still got to prove it down the stretch when it gets to those meaningful games in December and January. And then finally, my representative for the NFC in the Super Bowl will be the Los Angeles Rams. And a lot of the same points that Logan made there, not only the coaching mismatches they have, but offensively, we know what they are, but defensively, if you remember when they won the Super Bowl 4 or 5 years ago, that pass rush with Aaron Donald closed the games out for them. So I think the Rams, they're going to get hot and healthy at the right time, and I have them representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.
So I think we have a preview of the NFC, like the championship game for who makes it in the Super Bowl. It's December 14th. Circle the calendars. It's when the Detroit Lions come out here to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. I think that is our preview of the NFC championship game. As of right now, that's kind of what I would put. Shocking because I liked a lot of what the Eagles have been doing. My problem with the Eagles is I've seen some inconsistency from their defense that is not characteristic of them. And even though we have a lot of drama on their offense, as always, because that's what the Eagles like to do, it's the defensive, like the pieces like not necessarily always fitting together and getting that pass rush that we're used to from them. Even though Brandon Graham is back, but we'll see what kind of difference that necessarily makes for the entire front. But we'll see kind of what happens with them. But that's kind of how I. But the funny part is I think we have consensus for at least the teams making the playoffs in the NFC. So some version of Tampa, Philadelphia, Detroit, Green Bay, San Francisco, Rams, and Seattle. The order I'm just that's just the seven.
Yep.
So that's our consensus there. But for the AFC, there's a little bit more of a question mark. Everyone has Kansas City. Everyone has Indianapolis, Buffalo. eh, Baltimore's in or out. We all have the Patriots, and then some version of like Denver, Pittsburgh, or the Chargers. So it is very interesting with some feisty like Houston or Jacksonville like potential upstarts right there. But I think it's interesting to see the difference between, to me, NFC making the playoffs, getting that playoff bonus a lot easier this year than the AFC just in general.